Richard, it's always good to see you, man. Every time I see you, man, you look better. I don't know how you do it. You just give off this essence of joy and peace. But it's always good to see you. And today we're going to talk about communication. Communication is the lifeblood of relationships. It is miscommunication is often the biggest catalyst for challenge and disruption. The way that we communicate, as with most things, has changed over time. The way that we need to show up for people that we lead or even for each other in relationships. So, I would love to spend some time with you today talking about communication. So, walk us through your thoughts on the topic. What's different about communication today, and why is it more important than ever before?
Well, of all the topics, Carson, you and I've talked on so many things: leadership. We've talked about selling, talked about your book, and some of the key points and highlights from it. All of the things that I get passionate about talking about. For me, communication is at the heart and soul. I would say it's the heartbeat of
Hmm.
everything that we do, whether it's our personal relationships with our wives or significant others, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, our children. You think about how important those relationships are. And then obviously your audience, professionals and sellers and leaders. Communication is that foundation for building trust. It's the foundation for selling anything. If you can't communicate, if you cannot break through the wall to that other side of the other person and communicate to them, you might as well hang it up,
Hmm.
because you are not going to, no matter how much you know about the benefits and features of a product, no matter how much you know that this product or this thing can help that other person, if you can't paint a picture, if you can't tell a story, if you can't jump over that hurdle and actually get into the shoes of the other person to be able to communicate with them, I, I'm not sure that you're going to be very successful, not only in selling and not only in leadership, but I think in our own personal lives as well.
Okay, that's a wrap. I mean, you literally said everything that you could say. No, I look, when you think about communication and just how it factors into everything that we do, every core relationship, every function of ourselves as a person, but also as an employee or as a son or a parent or whatever it is. It bleeds into everything, and then there's different ways of communicating. There's the verbal communication. There's what we do with our facial expressions and nonverbal cues. Sometimes I'm told that I express things that I don't even know that I express. Um, I think it bleeds into all that, but at the heart of it is understanding what's the best way to meet this person where they are. And to your point, that can be a significant other. That can be like understanding their love language, all the way to how do I raise my children in an environment and in a relationship where they feel secure with having their emotions and processing them and learning how to process them. Some of these things that old guys like us, we take for granted now. But then taking that into the workplace, these are people. Before we hopped on, I was sharing with you kind of a story of how and where I got started in sales. And once upon a time, I had a manager who, I kid you not, would call me in the morning and quote Gordon Gekko from Wall Street every morning. And that's actually how this person ran their shop. Like
Sure.
I was programmed to be a sales machine. And I'm grateful for that experience because it made me able to approach a lot of these situations dispassionately. But I was not like born into a world of EQ when it
Right.
came to being a seller or being a leader. I'm very grateful for my experience over the last 10 plus years at Microsoft because I've spent time in enterprise and strategic selling, really going out and earning the right to be a trusted advisor, forging relationships, understanding where they perceive the risk. How do I make that executive a hero? How do I keep them from going off the cliff? And helping them establish a legacy. And all of those things at the heart of it, at the crux, is communication, being able to, you know, sit down, break bread and break ground as you, you know, forge a real relationship. So I couldn't agree more. It touches every facet of any relationship that matters.
Yeah, and even for us, you and I, our virtual friendship that is now transferred to actual real in real
That's right.
life
I get to
IRL. I
hug
think
you.
that's right. That IRL, I think, is what the teenagers call it.
Cool kids are saying.
That's right. We have both, right? And we've got that virtual relationship and in real life relationship. And I say that because Jefferson Fisher's new book, I've told you this, and everybody that I can get my face in front of, that his book on your next conversation has really challenged me. And there's something that has taken up space in my head rent free.
Hmm.
The whole premise of his book is the person standing in front of you is not the person you're having the conversation with. The person that's standing in front of you has problems and situations, maybe a manager breathing down their neck, some expectations or situation. That person that is standing in front of you is not the person that you're having the conversation with. The person you're having the conversation with has all of these other plates and things and emotional baggage and demons and ego and all the stuff that makes us up as human beings. And so if you're just trying to sell somebody something, you better get to know the person behind the person that is standing in front of you. If you want to have a relationship, young men, young ladies that are out there, if you want to have a relationship with someone out there, you need to know what all we would call it in the old school days, all the baggage that and luggage that somebody brings along with them. But for me, it's much more than that, because we have a whole closet and a house and a shoe store and a clothing store that we're bringing with us into our relationships. And so making sure that you're not just talking to this billboard in front of you, and understanding that that human being has stuff. You've got problems. I've got problems. All God's children got problems. As a matter of fact, I would tell you, Carson, we're not a candidate for a miracle in our life unless we have problems. Because last time I checked, miracles only happen for people that have a situation that need a miracle.
You're on fire today. I love this.
That it's just a different way of thinking about the people we're trying to communicate and have this relationship with, and the people that are on the other side of our product that we think is the world's greatest product. And it probably is. But unless we understand who those human beings are on the other side that we're trying to influence and have influence and sell things to and solve a problem with, add value, all the things that we try to do in the selling world, getting to know the human being, and you taught me this, understanding what they want for their legacy. All of those things are so superbly important, but that person's not just a billboard there. They come with a lot of stuff.
So powerful, Richard. You're putting on a clinic today. I've read a couple of really impactful books over the last couple of years that have helped me personally and professionally. Personally, Secure Love by Julie Manano, and it really
Oh,
focuses on, you know, marriage and you know, personal relationships, and you know, the jolt effect in business, where you think about, you know, we've been pre-programmed to go into any and all situations from a sales standpoint and do the needs analysis and, you know, match up and align. This solution goes with that. Oh, they said this
ego
buzzword. I need
questions. Yeah.
sell, 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 value, 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 and you know, give them fear of missing out. But you know, it challenges all the norms, and that it really comes down to the risk that these customers foresee. But what we don't think about enough as humans is the preconceived notion that a lot of these customers may have of maybe a negative experience that they had had with a vendor before, or your predecessor in sales, or somebody else that
Oh,
was trying to come across the same way. And I've made my entire career in sales as doing what I often view as the antithesis of what most do, and I've been very successful doing it. But it wasn't always easy because you're going against the grain. We can't also, by default, know or trust that, our managers or our leaders along the journey are going to come in with the same mentality that you just articulated, Richard. I'm still, in fact, I would argue I'm learning more now at 46
oh,
years old than I've ever learned in my entire life about relationships, communication, selling, leadership, all of the things, because I've reached a point where it's very freeing to reach a point where you don't have anything left to prove. I've achieved a lot of the things that I've set out to achieve, and it's been very challenging and hard. But almost that harder thing is when you get to this stage and you're still trying to up level and learn. And I'm trying to master my marriage. I'm trying to master being a parent. I'm trying to
yeah,
master being a human being and a Christian. And these things are not, those things aren't handed to you. It's a lot. It's honestly arguably easier to chase a sales quota than to do all those things that I just said.
yeah,
Um,
100%.
and so what I loved about what you said, Richard, was that you're not talking to the person, that there is all this baggage, and we can't react and get defensive from the response that we sometimes get from people because they're coming from a place that we don't understand. They're coming from a place maybe of being burned by a vendor or being hurt by somebody in their life, or they're thinking about something that happened 5 years ago while we're trying to come in with what matters to us. And that's where a lot of times we stumble and fall, as we come in talking about what matters to us as opposed to really trying to understand, where's this person coming from? How do I meet them where they are? The best relationships I've ever formed in business have been me understanding like what they need from a great partner. What is going to be, what's the legacy they want to leave? What brought them to this organization? What challenges are they having? And how can I jump in and help alleviate some of those challenges? Those are the game-changing conversations.
I was in a conference, and I promise you I wasn't trying to be that guy, but I ended up being that guy. The person up front said, listen, if you sellers and leaders in this room are still trying to sell the same way you sold 5 years ago, then you're missing the mark. And I just kind of raised my hand, and he said, yeah. I said, I would venture to say if we're still trying to sell the same way we sold 5 weeks ago or 5 days ago, we're missing the mark. The room, Carson, went silent, and people were scribbling down. And he asked me, well, tell me what you mean by that. But if you're approaching customers the same way that you did 5 weeks ago, they have new information. The digital transformation now that has taken place, they have new information they know more about your product in 5 weeks or 5 days than maybe you do, because they've researched it and been able to look into certain aspects of it, and they already know more than you how it will fit into their business. So if we don't recognize this digital transformation and how it has shifted our young people, doing a lot of teaching right now on emotional intelligence, and I'm talking to young people right now, some of your younger audiences, being able to look up and look at another human being in the eye and actually see them and recognizing their facial expressions like you were talking
Yeah.
about, and being able to see past the stuff that this digital transformation, number one, I believe, has handicapped many of our younger generation of being able to actually talk to another human being. But number two, just being able to lift their eyes and get up out of the social environment and recognize you just can't swipe left or right on a real human being. You actually have to engage in that human being and understand that their objections may not be their objections. It may be something they dealt with one of their employees 5 minutes ago.
The payoff can be incredible, though, if you invest the time and ability. But it isn't going to be an overnight transformation for any of us either as sellers or leaders. I mean, you and I have been doing this for a while. And, I still grapple at times with, yeah, I guess the pulls of the old demon, like, because there's always pressures. One of my favorite quotes is, Doc Rivers said this in the Coach's Playbook on Netflix,
Oh,
pressure is a privilege. And it's true. We've earned the right to get into this situation where, we got big numbers that we carry with us, and that's great. But with that, comes other people that care if you hit that number or not. And so there's always going to be pressures that come from here and there and everywhere. And these things can pull us off the focused path. Not intentionally per se. And I'm not saying that pressure doesn't come from a good place. It is important that we hit budgeted numbers because,
oh,
these are the things that pay for,
yeah.
expense budgets and, morale budgets and all the things and training. But I even struggle with some of these old demons sometimes where I feel pressure. I know I need to get something done, and it can cause me to lack situational awareness in a room. It can cause me to go in with an agenda of, I know what I've got to get done in this meeting. And when I
Mm.
shrink my bubble to that point in these meetings, and I'm not thinking enough about that customer executive or my colleagues or teammates that are also sitting there, and I'm going in trying to get what I need out of the meeting or what I feel like I need to get out of the meeting, I'm not plugged in. And don't get me wrong, there could be some benefit, some tangible benefit to the tunnel vision, but I may also cut out some of the other holistic benefit of earning that relationship. And you've just got to be so mindful of the room you're in and the opportunity that you have, and you've also got to do the work.
Yeah.
The communication benefits are worth it because you'll look at over time. I'm so grateful for some of the relationships that I've been able to form personally and
Oh,
professionally because I was willing to let the guard down strategically and at times, not with everyone, but with the
sure.
right people at the right time, like show the real me, being authentic when I show up with other people and even with customers, and frankly realizing, okay, from where this executive sits, what is likely the greatest value that I can bring? What's the differentiator? These folks can buy cloud services anywhere. To your point, they can research anywhere. They may already know what they're thinking, and they may not see a vested interest in moving off of one cloud to another just because they want to see my team get paid. That may not be enough of a reason for them. Imagine that. However, if there's something unique that I can bring to them, a relationship, a resource, intelligence that they wouldn't be able to get anywhere else, these are the differentiators. And that's why somebody will do business with you as opposed to your competition because they may be cheaper, they may be easier, but if I'm super responsive, transparent, communicative, trustworthy, and I actually show up
Yeah.
caring about their holistic picture as opposed to just what keeps them up at night,
Uh,
the game can be changed.
yeah. Yeah. And I hate that question. What keeps me up
I
at
do
night?
too.
Going
I
to the
can't stand it.
bathroom. Going to the bathroom is what keeps me up at night. So,
Same. And the dog. And the dog.
and
And
I,
our 4-year old. But,
if I could encapsulate this conversation just a little bit, because I think you've touched on so many great points today, Carson. We get paid, you and I, and everyone that has a job or a career, we get paid to do things. So we are human doings,
mm,
doing things for a paycheck, for our livelihood, for our career, for our companies, and all those things. We need to do them at the best of our ability. But we cannot be just human doings. We have to remember we are human beings that are doing. And so, as a human being, I have a heart and a soul and things going on at ball practice, at home, with my joints, with different situations, with my partner, with my dad or mom. And so those human beings that we deal with have all that stuff
yeah.
as well. So as we do, as a human doing, make sure we're connecting with that human being that is on the other side.
So good. I had a great manager a few years back, and I would always hop into every conversation, jumping right into the business, both with my team, people that worked for me, because that was just how I was pre-programmed, but also even with her. And I would say, like, she'd ask, "How are you?" "Oh, well, I'm doing this and this and this." No, how are you?
You.
And it took me a while to really ingrain that into my process and to understand the importance of that. I have one-on-ones with people all the time that work for me, and sometimes you'll go in with an agenda and it'll be completely derailed in minute one because they have something so pressing in their life or in their on top of mind that takes it in a totally different direction. That conversation is far more important than whatever agenda took you an hour to write up sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes the greatest element that we can bring to communication is being agile, to your point, being able to pivot and being willing to pivot for the sake of the relationship that you're trying to earn.
Yeah. A couple of questions that I brought from my personal life. My wife and I, many times when we're having our coffee or if we're having our marriage check-in, and yes, we have a marriage check-in every 3 weeks just
It's
to
important.
make sure the business of our relationship is moving forward in the right direction. One of our favorite questions to ask each other is, what what have you been most excited about? What are you most proud of over the last couple of years? We'd ask our daughters that. What over this last week? What are you most proud of? What happened? What's given you the most headache? What's given you the most issue? What's something I can take off of your plate? I have brought those two questions to my team, and instead of saying, "Hey, what are you working on? What's going on with the business?" I asked them over this last week, "What are you most proud of? What just brought you the most joy this past week? Hey, what's giving you the most struggle?" And those two questions with my team, I automatically get a sense of what's happening. And then I ask them, what can I take off your plate? What can I help with?
Yeah.
What could I be a better leader for you with that? It's changed. It is completely, those questions have changed not only my personal relationship, but my relationship with my team.
I love that. I learn every time we talk. See, this is why I like to schedule these, is because I feel like I'm getting coached from the mentor here.
Oh,
Um, it's great to have this dialogue and to really, my advice, my key takeaways for anybody checking this out today is think about the relationships in your life that matter and the ones that where you want to matter to someone, and that could be could be a friend, could be a loved one, could be a significant other, it could be your kids, but it can also be these relationships that you want to go out and create. And just thinking holistically, sometimes we get so stuck in the day to day, we get so stuck in the minutia, and you can be puttering along and you smack into a wall on something and you just give up. It can be human nature. But I think
yeah.
sometimes we benefit from taking a step back and taking a balcony holistic view at things. And if you think about like even this year, like what are some of the big relationships that you want to go out and create? What are the experiences that you want to have? What relationships are going to be important to get there? I mean, that could be the big deal that you need to go out and win. Who do
Yeah.
you need in the boat with you to get that done? Who are some of the internal stakeholders that you need to go out and create relationships with? And I always think about it from the vantage point of how do I make this person a winner? How do I enable this person to do something? Because to your point, Richard, we all get paid to do something. Well, if I go out and I make somebody's life better, and if I make their job easier in some way, shape, or form, or I actually care what their job looks like, how they get paid, what they get comped on, what their metrics
Yeah.
are, if I care about those things, every time I do any internal like bringing people in to like internal stakeholders to align to a project or whatever it is, it's never about like, hey, get in and do what I tell you to do. No, it's like, let's cast this in a way that it will be beneficial to you. How do we make this fit perfectly into what's going to matter to you? And then on top of that, sometimes people will do me favors. I'll send messages to their manager, their skip level on up the chain heaping praise on this person because I want them to look good and I want them to remember how that relationship made them feel. I value that. And there's ways that we can do that. So taking that balcony view of the relationships that you want to have or
Oh
that you
my
want to
God.
invest in more and being intentional about doing it. We're not going to get it right every time. Um, God knows I make mistakes all the time. And I show up the wrong way in conversations, but we're all a work in progress. And I think as long as we're stepping in the right direction and we're intentional about trying to care what matters to that other person, you're on the right path.
Well, I close today with this, Carson, and it's always a joy to connect with you. But one of my favorite quotes that I'm keep going back to, and I've got it up on my computer right here on a little scribble pad, and it's post-it note, and I keep going back to it because it is a daily reminder for me that I have to do better as a human being for the other human beings around me. The Dalai Lama said this: our purpose is to help other humans in this life. And if we can't help them, let's at least not hurt them.
Mm.
And for me, my gosh, I, it, being a human doing things and providing products for the company I work with or the people that I meet, I want to help other human beings in this life. But if I can't do that, the very least that I can do is not hurt other human beings. Thanks for allowing me to just ramble.
Oh, your ramblings are another man's treasure. So you can ramble my way anytime, Richard. I always appreciate you. Thank you for this, and you gave us a lot to think about the importance of communication, but also how we show up and who we're really talking to,
Yeah. Human to human.
human to human. We'll see you next time.